16. Alrighty, guys. So again, this is like my second show, which I am super pumped to be back with you all. So if this is your first time tuning in to Mission Minded, I began creating this show after experiencing my own mission trips. I went to Japan once as a member and then just recently as a leader of the trip. So that's really helped guide my path and what I kind of want to do even in the future. But the main question that I would always get was, why Japan? Why'd you want to go to Japan? I'm like, why not Japan? I've always enjoyed learning about new culture, and Japan is full of rich and ancient history and culture. They have complex writing systems and customs that we cannot even relate to here in America. And while I was in Japan, I also had the opportunity to work with an American missionary, a French missionary, and of course, Japanese missionaries who had dedicated their entire lives to serving and expanding God's kingdom outside of the U.S. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, these people, the amazing stories that they have and the wisdom that they've learned just from being moved from their comfort zone to a place that they've never been before.
You're listening to WSCU 93.7 FM, Lakeland, Florida.
A place that considers them to be just different. Everyone looks at you different when you're not in your hometown, your home place where you're comfortable. So it was cool to see that all these people were plucked out of their comfort zone and placed somewhere where they were not comfortable. So that's where my passion for this topic comes from. So as we get deeper into the show, I'll discuss national news, history, culture, as well as bring on guests to even share their experience with mission trips or traveling outside of the U.S. So that being said, again, today is January 25th here in the U.S. And here's the latest world news. So across the whole world, not just the U.S. There's a U.S. blizzard. The U.S. blizzard is finally clearing up after a huge snowstorm. Millions of people across the eastern U.S. are clearing up after the weekend's massive snowstorm that virtually paralyzed the region. They have been digging out their cars and clearing pathways of snow, which reached up to 13 feet in 5 different states. Public transportation remains severely disrupted as the working week is set to begin today. Many flights have been canceled, and government buildings in Washington and many schools will be closed today as well. So that's a nice little extra 3-day weekend for some of the northern states there. At least 29 deaths have been reported since Friday when the blizzard began as a result of car accidents, carbon monoxide poisoning, and heart attacks suffered while shoveling snow. The storm, dubbed Snowmegadon and Snowzilla, has been weakened and headed out into the Atlantic Ocean. It affected some 85 million people, at one point cutting the power off for 300,000 people. The heaviest fall was recorded in Glengarry, West Virginia, which had 42 inches. Me being a Floridian and being born here and raised here, I've actually never experienced snow, so I can't imagine. Today, I have a sweater on and my scarf, and I'm still cold, so I can't imagine being, covered in snow. And I also saw a really interesting Instagram. There's been pictures and videos of people just kind of embracing the snow and having fun. The latest one that I girl who was in her swimsuit, I guess she was a diver, and she had her cap on and her goggles on, and she dove off of not the balcony, but it was like the porch. She dove off the porch into the snow and completely disappeared. So it's interesting to see people actually enjoying and trying to make the best of this terrible snowstorm that hit us over the past week. Also in today's world news, veteran African National Congress activist Dennis Goldberg has called for leaders of the party to be replaced. He is a local and nationally, or in BBC interview, he alleged that the ANC leadership locally and nationally was riddled with corruption. Mr. Goldberg said that leaders' focus on personal enrichment was threatening freedom in South Africa. As a member of the ANC's military wing, he was convicted of armed resistance to apartheid and sentenced to 4 life terms in 1964. Mr. Goldberg was the only white man to be convicted among 10 people on trial for their lives alongside Nelson Mandela. Huge steps have been made in education, healthcare, and development of a civil service since the end of that period, Mr. Goldberg said. So they are currently trying to, just regain that sense of stableness within their nation. There's a lot of corruption going on where people are doing things just for their own, beneficial gain. And if you don't know who Dennis Goldberg is, I did pull up a couple of facts for you guys. He served 22 years in the Pentori's whites-only Central Prison. And here's a quote that he said: "Being black and involved in the struggle meant you had the support of many people, and it meant you got to be a part of a community. Being white and involved meant being isolated." He was strongly critical of Israel's threat of the Palestinians and its warm relations with the apartheid government, despite Israel interceding on his behalf. He worked for the ANC's London office from 1985 to 1944, and he was widowed twice and now lives in Cape Town. The last of our news is the Syrian government forces say they have seized the last major town held by rebels in western Latakia province. State TV said Rabia, in rebel hands for 4 years, was overrun by the army and popular defense forces. The province is a stronghold of the Alawite community to which the president belongs. Russian forces played a huge key role in the recapture of Rabia, according to the UK-based monitoring group, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The head of the group, forces had surrounded the town from 3 sides in the space of 48 hours by capturing several villages along the way. The Russian airstrikes played an essential role. So if confirmed, the capture of Rabia would be the latest success in the government's campaign to reassert full control over the Alawite strongholds of the Latakia, the provincial capital. So that is it for your world news. There's a lot of times that we don't hear about the latest things that are going on or people who are involved. So this is always good to know what's going on in your home country, but it's always smart to know what's going on around us outside. So up next on Mission Minded is Culture Chat. So be sure to stay in tuned here on WSU Radio 93.7 FM with your host, me, Aria Woods.
This is WSCU 93.7 FM, Lakeland, Florida.
For nearly 80 years, Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida has been helping students gain the experience they need to fulfill their calling.
My name is Caleb Kinchlow. I graduated Southeastern in 2008 with a degree in broadcast television with a minor in theater, and I'm currently a videographer, editor, producer, and media personality. In the media industry, it's all about experience. And Southeastern offers students that experience. Day one in the studio, I was told, you can touch the cameras. You will learn how to edit. You will learn how to produce. You'll learn how to write. And we're going to back you up and teach you those tools that you need to further your career. When our NASA show won the Emmy, when I did the show for CBS College Sports, when I'm at the Super Bowl in the locker room, I'm thinking to myself, man, these are things that I learned while being at Southeastern.
Are you looking for the right Christian university to help prepare you for career success? Then check out Southeastern at seu.edu or by calling 800-500-8760. Southeastern University, transforming minds, engaging culture. Learn more at seu.edu.
Welcome back, guys, to Mission Chat with your host, Aria Woods, here on WSU 93.7 FM, your fire station. And as promised, it is now time for Culture Chat. So if this is your first time joining me here on Mission Minded, Culture Chat is basically where I go into more detail about different cultures around the world. On my previous show, I kind of highlighted on some languages that are kind of lost in translation for us Americans. So I kind of highlighted on Japanese words that don't have any sort of translation for us Americans. So sometimes it's important to know these words, because if you ever go to a different country and they say a word and you're like, I have no clue what you're trying to tell me, and usually it's trying to honor you or welcome you. So today, before we go into some more culture, we are going to dive into some world holidays. So world holidays always get me really excited because there's always great holidays to celebrate, and we have our holidays here in America, but we can also look around the world and see what they're celebrating as well. So today, for January 25th, I'll be highlighting 3 world holidays that are celebrated on this day. So the first one is Duarte's Day, and this day is celebrated in the Dominican Republic, and they celebrate Pablo Duarte, who is the primary founder of Dominican Republics. So Duarte's birthday is actually on the 26th, but they celebrate the day that he was able to work towards their independence on the first Monday that is closest to his birthday. So it's usually always on the 25th, or if it's a different Monday, it would be that Monday, trying to celebrate it as closely to his birthday as possible. The second holiday is Revolution Day. This holiday is celebrated in Egypt. Revolution Day is the public holiday celebrated in Egypt to commemorate the military coup of July 23rd, 1952. This led to the end of the monarchy and the establishment of an independent republic. And then the last holiday, which I kind of like it actually. I would probably do this holiday, I think just once though, but it's kind of fun. It's an Israeli holiday called Tu B'Shvat. Yes. This holiday is celebrated on the 15th of the Shavat of the Jewish calendar, which would fall on January 25th of this year. But this day marks the beginning of the new year for trees. How cool is that? Trees get a new year too. This is the season in which the earliest blooming tree in the land of Israel emerges from their winter sleep, and they begin a new fruit-bearing cycle. So the way that they kind of celebrate this holiday is by eating fruit. So practically particularly from the kinds that are noticed in the Torah. So in its praise of the bounty of the Holy Land. So grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives, and dates. Though I don't think I'm a fan of any of these fruit. Maybe grapes. Not sure about figs. Pomegranates, olives, not so much dates. But on this day, we remember that man is a tree of the field, which is stated in Deuteronomy 20:19. And then they reflect on the lessons we can derive from from the analogy. So if you ever want to celebrate the new life of trees, January 25th. Today is the day to start. Eat some fruit. So next up on Culture Chat is Fast Facts. So Fast Facts is a new segment where I'm just going to be throwing out facts. And I try to keep a theme around it. So today's theme of facts is really about languages. And languages are really an important part of the world. I mean, you identify with your language in a lot of ways. So the first fact is there are about 7,000 languages in the world. 7,000 languages, and I know about one language. Yep, that's it, just one. I'm studying Japanese and sign language, but I only have one language on my belt out of the 7,000 in the world. It's crazy. And also the Bible is available in 2,454 languages. So how cool is that the Bible can reach that many languages? But I would be interested in how we can get the Bible to reach the other, those other people who don't have translated Bibles. The oldest written language was believed to be written in about 4,000 BC. Whew, that's a long time ago. I don't even know what they were doing back then, Hopefully reading something as the writing was starting to come about. There are 12 imaginary languages. This is fun. And The Lord of the Rings. I've never seen The Lord of the Rings before, but there's actually 12 imaginary languages that are in that movie. So I wonder how do you make up a language? That would be fun. There are 231 languages are now completely extinct. That's kind of scary. I would hope that the English language doesn't come completely extinct and we start speaking in text. Now that would be traumatic. There is a language in Botswana that consists of mainly 5 types of clicks. There are 15 ways to spell O, the sound O in French. There are also 3 different writing systems in the Japanese language: hiragana, katakana, and kanji. There are about 2,200 languages in Asia alone. And then there are 50,000 characters in the Chinese language, but you'll need to know about 2,000 just to read the morning newspaper. Chinese is not a language. Fun fact, people from China either speak Mandarin or Cantonese or another language, but they do not speak Chinese. And then 1/4 of the world's population speaks at least some English. Learning another language is very important in today's time. So if you are like me and you're in the process of learning a different language, stay encouraged and motivated. And Japanese, they would say ganbatte, means keep fighting, keep going. Also, if you notice that there was a trend of Chinese facts toward the end of this list, that's because our guest for Destination Spotlight spent her spring break in China, and she will be sharing her experience right here on Mission Minded. So be sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Mission Minded here with Aria Woods on WSU 93.7 FM, your fire station. So we actually have a special guest with me in the studio.
Hi.
You were like, is this my cue? Is this my cue? Yes, this is your cue. So we actually have Paige here in the studio, and I'm just gonna let you introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Don't go into your mission trips just yet, but just tell us who you are.
Okay. I'm Paige. I'm a junior, and I'm a general biology major here at Southeastern.
Oh, wow. What do you want to do with that?
I actually want to be an osteopathic doctor. So
Wow.
I have a lot of school ahead of me, but
That's okay. That's okay.
But I'm excited. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. So again, we have Paige in here, and the first question I really have for Paige is the first question I kind of pop out for everybody because I feel like it's the first question I always get. But why China? Why did you decide to go on a missions trip to China? How did it come about? Were you against it at first? Just give us some details about this.
So it's actually pretty funny because for so long, I honestly never really had an interest in China. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't a place where I planned on going. And so then last year, that was my first year here, I transferred. And I just decided to go to the that big missions expo thing.
Right.
So I decided to go to that. And I wasn't really taking it that seriously. I was just whatever, I'll just check it out. And so then I went there. I went through the entire thing. And throughout the night, China just kept going through my mind. It was every station that I went to, I just kept thinking of China. And I had stopped by China by that station a lot earlier in the night. And I didn't really at first I was I'm just going to go there, whatever. But I got so excited. As soon as I saw it, I got so excited, and I was that's really weird because I don't really have a passion for that. And so, yeah, that was the big thing that kind of helped. And there was a point when I wasn't going to go to China. And it was just my parents, they were worried about financial issues and stuff like that, because that was my first big missions trip.
Of course.
So at first I wasn't gonna go, and then I went to other meetings, and I tried to find places that were in the U.S. and just cheaper missions trips, and all of them I was just whatever.
I gotta go to China.
Yeah, and so then, oh man, it was just awesome. I finally just decided on China.
Wow. So you kind of almost touched on what I was going to talk about next, because one of the main reasons I feel like young people, even like college students, we don't get to travel is because of finances. So how did you raise money for your trips, and was there any discouragement, and then how did you get over those discouragements?
Okay, so raising money, I love art. I love drawing. I've done it ever since I was little. And so I would have these postcards, and I would just paint on them. I would draw them. I would just add detail, and then I would sell them.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's really creative.
Yeah, so that was a big way that I raised money. I also had these things, I call them words of encouragement, super corny, but I had these things where there were these super tiny little cards, and I would just paint on them, and then I would stamp verses on them. And the whole point was the other side, someone would give the card to someone and just write something encouraging, because I love encouraging others, and I think it just helps people feel so much better.
Right, definitely.
And yeah, so that was a main way I did it. Also just the typical sending out letters and stuff like that. But yeah, my parents at the beginning, that was my major
the main problem. No, I can totally agree with you, because mine was the money. And I'm the type of person who I just hate asking for help. I just hate it. And so I was I put off sending out letters to the very end, but then I was really blown away by how many people were encouraging and how many people did, either donate or just be hey, I'm praying for you and I'm praying for this trip. So send out those letters if you're trying to go on a missions trip. Don't be like me. So throughout your process, were there any discouragements when it came to financing? Was there any, I could probably save this money for something else or anything like that?
I don't know. For me personally, money has never been a huge issue. I didn't really have a lot of big moments where I was oh my gosh, I don't think I'm gonna raise this, because I always kind of had a backup plan. I have so much money saved up. I am the cheapest person. I really am. I hate spending money, so I already had a bunch of money saved up and stuff like that. And I was you know what? If it comes down to it,
you're digging in the
I'll just do that. And it was just so amazing, watching God provide and everything like that. So I really didn't need to end up doing that, which was awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, I didn't really have discouragement as far as that goes. I think my main discouragement throughout the process was just summer classes that I had to take also.
Yes,
so it's oh my gosh.
Yeah, no,
how am I gonna balance this?
That can be a lot. One thing I would even be if you took them online while you were across the seas, it would be making sure you got it in on the correct date, because they're ahead of time. So it's you can send your your teacher I'm so sorry, I'm a day ahead of you in Japan or China right now, is there any way you can still accept my work? How does all of that work? So no, that is a good point to bring across. During the summer, how do I get my schoolwork done if I'm taking summer classes?
It was crazy. What I did for that was I had to email so many professors in advance, because I was doing it at Valencia, and it was chemistry.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So many professors, and the first call I got was the worst. It was so discouraging.
Oh, no.
She was I don't think you should take this. You're going to fail. It was all this stuff. And I was wow, okay. She was either go on the trip or don't take it, because you're going to fail. Oh. And I was okay, thanks. And then I finally found one professor. He was so nice. He worked with me the whole time. And I totally forgot about the 12-hour time difference.
Right.
So,
yeah. I think we all at that point. Awesome. So again, this is Mission Minded with our Destination Spotlight. We're here with Paige, who went to China, and then coming up after this break, she's actually going to go into some of her experience in China, culture shocks, things she learned, things she wished she didn't eat, all of that fun stuff right here on Mission Minded on WSU 93.7.
Are you undecided about where to go to college? Then do what I did and check out Southeastern University. From the moment I stepped on campus, I knew it was the right place for me. The powerful worship services, caring faculty, and vibrant campus life were just some of the reasons I chose Southeastern.
If you've been looking for the right college, your search ends today. Southeastern University, located in Lakeland, Florida, offers students a life-changing experience. Pick the perfect career field for more than 50 undergraduate and 14 graduate degree programs. Experience close relationships with your professors and a campus community where there's always something to do, from student life events to mission opportunities to athletics.
What are you waiting for? Apply to Southeastern today.
For more information, visit scu.edu. That's scu.edu. Or call 800-500-8760. Southeastern University. Transforming minds, engaging culture.
Yes, on WSU, but it's actually by SU Worship, which is the worship group here on our school campus. So they have a couple of albums out, and you should definitely check them out, SU Worship. But anyways, back to mission-minded topic stuff. Again, we have Paige here who's been to China, and she kind of introduced herself in the first part of our segment and talked about why she went to China and then raising money for China. So now we're going to kind of dive into just your experience. What is China like? I'm sure people have seen movies and all this fun stuff, but that doesn't always portray, the authentic feel of being there.
Yeah, I love China. The people, I don't know, before I went to China, I kind of had this stereotype where, I don't know, I thought Chinese people, I thought they would be very, serious and, boring, stern. But then when I went there, they're the nicest people I've ever met.
Oh, wow.
They're so welcoming, so loving. Over there, it's so different from over here. Everyone, it's so individualistic over here. Everyone has their set agendas. People hang out, but over there it's a completely different level. It's so communal. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I think like I said, that completely breaks down a lot of stereotypes that we probably have about, Chinese people. I would probably feel like they're more go stern. And I'm sure there probably are some business people who are like that, but a lot of us don't get to see, the very friendly and welcoming side of it. So that's definitely interesting. So how long was your team over in Japan?
We were there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, it was awesome. We were in Kunming.
Okay.
So it's the altitude, since we were more by the mountains, it was a little higher, and we were supposed to drink a lot of water. I didn't. And I know it sounds weird, but over there the toilets, they're very different.
Really?
From over here, because they're in the ground. And
so all the toilets.
They have some Western toilets, depending on where you go.
Right.
But for the most part, they're literally in the ground.
Wow, so you have to squat.
Yeah. So I would try so much to avoid it. Because,
drinking water, so you would have to.
I didn't want to have to go.
Wow.
Because unless we were working with the missionaries, because they had Western style toilets. So on days like that, of course, I was fine. But on days when we were just out, I was I'm not.
No water. No water for me. So
Yeah.
while your team was there for the 2 weeks in China, what was your main medium for ministering to the people? So what did you guys get to do with the missionaries, and how did all that work out?
Okay, so we had 2 different missionaries. We had a younger one and an older one.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really cool, seeing the different sides and aspects to ministry. And one of them was go nonstop, and
right.
Of course that was the younger one.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to universities, and over there you can't say anything about God. You can't bring up anything like that, which is so hard. Right. And you don't really realize how hard it is to not say God or church or anything like that until you're like in a situation where you literally can't say it.
Right.
So over at the universities, we would just talk about leadership. So like we didn't bring up.
Right. And I could definitely see that being hard, even coming from, Southeastern University, where we are a Christian, college, and you can speak about God as much as you want to being over there, and it's like you can't. I would almost have to like make sure I would thinking before I speak in a sense.
Yeah, definitely, because I know we had to have code words.
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that. Like even on the subway, even there, I remember like one time there was this lady there, and she looked like she might be like a cop or like something like that.
Oh, how scary.
Yeah. And so like me and my friend, we were just talking, and then one of the leaders, she was like telling us like
calm down a little bit.
Yeah, because we didn't realize. And then I looked behind me and I was like, oh.
And that's
Oops.
so interesting. I would love to hear more about like the differences even between like China and Japan, because on our mission trip, we were on the train and we did our devotions, out loud. We were able to read the Bible out loud. So for China, you can, you're really on the down low. That's gotta be scary. How interesting. So you went to some college universities. Were there any other ways you were able to like impact or work in China?
Yeah, we went to the other missionary. We did a Bible school. So that was really cool because I've never done a sermon before, so that was my first time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. So then I did that, and we sang over there. I got to dance over there. That was really fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it was really cool because I didn't know Uno was like a universal game.
Really?
I had no idea until like one day after lunch, we were just playing Uno with a bunch of like guys at the school, and they knew the game, and like it was, like Uno, dos, tres, like it was in Spanish. It wasn't like in Mandarin or anything.
How funny is that?
Yeah, it was so cool. I was like, oh, okay, this is different.
Wow, that's fun. Uno. Why not?
Yeah.
So we're kind of gearing down to our last couple of questions, but I know this one is probably a really like hot, interesting one. So what was some of the biggest culture shocks you experienced while in Japan? And were they negative culture shocks or maybe even positive culture shocks?
Okay. Well, one thing that I did love, it was a wonderful culture shock. The dogs.
Really?
I'm a huge dog person.
Ah.
And there was, when we would go in the villages, like there were so many dogs. And some of them were a little bigger. I'm not really that big into like big dogs. But there were a bunch of like cute little ones, and like anywhere we would go, there was at least one that would follow us and like want to go home with us.
How adorable.
Yeah, they were so cute. And then another thing, in the bathrooms, none of them had toilet paper. So you would have to bring your own tissue. Yeah.
Really?
And some of them, the first one I went to over there, I didn't know this. So it was a huge culture.
Of course.
Because it was like the very first one. I think it was the first day we were there. We went to this restroom, and it was in this nice fancy restaurant. And there was no toilet paper. There was no soap.
Wow.
And then, of course, you have, like, the weird, like, we called them squatty potties.
Yeah, that's what I was
weird.
Squatty potty.
I had to give it a cute name. But we had the weird little toilets.
And then nothing.
Yeah.
How interesting.
So it was really weird. Like, my friend and I, we just went into the closet because they had the door open. And we just tried to, of course, we don't know what it's saying because it's
right.
But we went in and we, like, found something that looked like it could be soap. And we tried to wash our hands.
You're like, whatever, okay.
Yeah.
So what's one thing that you think you can learn, from the people of China?
Just what it really means to, I mean, a lot of people there, they are actually Christians, but what it really means to, like, be a Christian and show, like, Christ's love. Because, like, even though not all of them were Christians, they set such wonderful examples of that.
Right.
Like, they were so loving, and I just think, like, we can learn so much from that. And just, like, the communal aspect. Like, I know everyone's, like, really busy all the time,
Right.
and this is definitely something I'm trying to work on. Like, when you're so busy and you're, like, you have a set schedule and you have to stick to it, it's just, like, important to take the time if somebody needs you, just, like, be like, okay, what's up? Like, what do you need? I'm here for you. Talk to them. And I think that's just, like, such a huge, wonderful thing that they do over there. So I think that's the biggest
Wow,
thing.
no, I definitely can hear that, just because we're so, in tune to ourselves over here, and a lot of times where they're a lot more open. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So this is kind of just a fun free-for-all question. So you've been to China. Mm-hmm. Where would you like to go next? Where would you like to travel next?
Honestly, I would just love to go back there.
Really? Yeah.
I love China so much. It was like the best place ever. I would love to go back there. Also, I would just love to go to Yemen. I think that would be awesome. And that's in the Middle East.
Okay.
It's like, it's pretty tiny, so.
Yeah, hey.
But,
I'm like all for just traveling. I think young people, we need to get out and travel a lot more and just see the world, because there's a lot more to the world than just here in America. So this has been another episode of Mission Minded here with Aria Woods on WSCU 93.7 FM, your fire station. Be sure to stay tuned and check us out Wednesday from 10 to 11 for another episode of Culture Talk, chatting, and just learning about what's happening in our world today. Everybody have a fabulous week.